Hello, 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 and hello. Welcome back to more Graphite ASMR. It's some things that's really funny that's sort of behind the scenes, sort of gathering my thoughts about how I wanted to go about this particular episode of my ASMR season, if you will. I'm just doing it that way because I found the structure of that sort of like an anime series, like 24 episodes per season, kind of gives a nice structure, more of a rewatchability, maybe, not entirely sure. Quite frankly, just kind of setting up for a format for the later version, or for the future, I guess. Just trying to get more onto the schedule, trying to definitely adhere to the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, one of the things that eventually what I'll do is when I start getting more and more people watching my show, I'll be able to break down when the best time for uploading, or probably use my friend that enjoys ASMR, ask him what times does he normally listen to ASMR. And from there, I'll be able to determine when would be the best time to start to upload. Some other things that I want to try to do is, I want to figure out, is putting space between me talking, is that okay? It's simply because the fact that I don't share this experience with my viewers at all, so the only thing that I get to do is talk to the mic, and then in a specific manner that people enjoy it. So, I'm wondering, if I upload at a specific time, I hit the market of people that enjoy listening at it and start looking for it at that time. Where if I upload in the morning, the only way that I would be able to grow my channel would be then as if I was, if I am just uploading all willy-nilly, then I'm hitting different points in the day, and since I don't have a base, I don't have a consistent following, I have to find out where the best time to upload, so to hit that market that's just looking for fresh AMR or ASMR stuff. So that's a few of my thoughts on it, what I want to try to start doing. A few other things, again, I'm kind of working with no script, so it's kind of funny because I literally sit here and I'm just talking into a mic, staring at some different things on my desk. So let's talk about this is actually, I believe, the third episode I spent working on the same piece. To be fair, I have never worked on something more than probably 3 or 4 hours. There's only one other drawing I ever worked on that was more than an hour or two. I think it was about 3 hours that I about worked on it. But what I plan on doing with this specific piece is to put as much detail into it as humanly possible. To the point, I'm even willing to go all the way to the point of it being actually just a black piece of paper. I just think the experience of doing that is going to be fun. And also I think it might capture a really interesting night scene. But, sorry. So, it's just going to be hours and hours and hours spent just putting little minute details, little layers here and there to slowly build up the image from what I'm thinking it is. And you can tell it's like I'm going for very specific things like house, river. That was what the first few objectives were to do, was get the idea out onto the paper. And then from there, it was to sort of get the feel for the nature of what I'm drawing. What am I want to draw something that was obviously sort of more nature oriented. I wanted it to look like a still frame of something that you would see in real life. So, but I also wanted it to look worked. I wanted the environment to be molded by someone's presence. So, even if it's a little bit. So, putting the shack there, great idea. Putting a little bit of a dam, I've thought that was a fantastic idea. Adding little details such as the cat tails, or the forbidden corn dog. Putting a little fish there, just to capture this scene where it looks not like it's permanent, but it looks like it's worked in a way to be functional. Not necessarily to work with how nature works, not to work against it. So right now what I'm doing was I'm putting down different lines. Now, granted, the only issue with capturing it on video camera is graphite shows up differently on paper than it does on video. So, just a fair warning, there is a possibility that my art on video may look good, but in real life may look like crap. Or the video may look like crap, but the image looks better in person. So yeah, just putting a little detail just here and there. I'm trying to show the how it looks to me. So like, get closer. I also keep doing that because I think it's funny to raise the back and make it look like a 3D image, but it's only a 2D paper. So, trying to really emphasize the different shadings on those rocks, make it almost black to a point. Eventually, most of what's closer to you will probably, or to the person that would be standing there looking out into this sort of scenery. I wanted it to become more and more black the closer it is to you, because you're starting to lose vision, or you're starting to lose peripheral vision as it gets closer to your feet. But of course, you can only capture so much on a 4x8 piece of paper. No, I don't know. What, 6x8? Whatever the stock size for printer paper is. So, yeah, just tomorrow. Today was a recording day. Oh my god, waiting to find a time in order that was nicer or it was nicer on the mic to record was almost a nightmare. It seemed like every time I sat down, got sort of like started working on the idea, it was just simply nope, 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 to keep pushing it off. So, though I did get to enjoy myself, I played a little Borderlands 3. I'm just trying to honestly finish the storyline, and I don't even know why I'm playing that game. Well, I guess I'm playing it because it was bought for me, so I never bought it. I simply had no... I don't want to get into it. But it was nice to be able to sit there, just kind of mindlessly go about it. My workout schedule is catching up to me, so it's fun to feel sort of exhausted, but yet driven to continue to work out. I'm really happy that started I think I brought it up before, but I'm not entirely sure, is the Body Improvement Club. Really happy about that. I got my friend to upload 2 images of him at the gym. Now this guy, he's bigger. Now he's not like Hercules, but he's pretty big. And it's fun because I joke that he is my Hercules, that he's my Greek pantheon. The physical image of what it looks like to be a man. I thought it was really fun. So, hopefully, okay. Not entirely sure what that was. Whatever. In any case, so, I guess I originally had an idea to edit what I was doing, but nope, I'm not doing that right now. So, essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put more, instead of putting a line. So, one of the things I'm trying to do with this piece of art that I'm doing is trying to convey the environment without drawing the hard lines of the environment. So, thinking of ways to emphasize that specifically with what I'm working on right now, that tree with my insignia on it, which by the way is it's all 3 of my initials made into one thing and then tilted like 45-degree angle, just because by 45 degrees, just because I think it looks cool. So, what I decided to try to do, instead of making a hard line that ground that's around the tree with my insignia is raised up, instead of making a line to convey this, I decided to make the grass look like if you would look at grass at an angle of height in the ground, you'll notice that it's a bunch, like, because we're looking at things in layers, that it's a bunch of grass layered on top of each other towards our vision. So of course, when you look at that at the angle that I'm trying to go for, you'll see a bunch of grass on top of each other, making essentially the line for where the ground rises without having to draw the line itself. And then from there, you just start building up the backdrop a bit more. I thought the concepts that I was thinking along for this was just an absolute pleasure. And like this, to me, trying to think of ways to convey what I see physically is one of my more fun and favorited things to do. That's just drawing. That's literally just drawing. So yes, I like to draw. It's essentially the same thing. But yeah, so the first steps, get the general concept. And you could be rough with it too. Like really dirty, with the dirty lines, terrible. Like, look at that tree. That tree looks like garbage. Hot garbage. Like the tree with my insignia. What's that hole at the bottom? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? But just put down what you think. Just work with what your imagination's given you. Even if it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out and it looks like crap, let it look like crap. It doesn't really matter. That's the beauty of it. Just go and just do it. I'm doing this with a number 2 pencil. I don't have any sort of, like, and I've used, because I took art class in college, so you obviously are accustomed to using different tools to get more of a specific, because it has different grades of graphite. You have other ones that are more dense, that put down more graphite. You have other ones that are more light, that don't give off nearly as much of a heavy line. Um, you have other ones that are really, really light on the press. So it's just a bunch of pressed graphite together inside a wood. That's basically all pencil is. But for me, it's just, I don't know, I guess maybe it's because of being in being in school. This is the thing that blows my mind. When I was younger, I remember receiving different art supplies, stuff that once I got into college, I actually really understood why you use them, which is like probably that and a few other things. It was a good class. I really liked the teacher too. But in any case, it was like exposing yourself to new ways to create art. That was one of the biggest things I think I learned from that class from college. Just simply because of the fact that it forced me to learn different ways to perceive the world as well. So for instance, trying to come up with a way to elevate that ground without making any hard lines signifying that there is ground there that is raised. Simply just make the grass look like it's raised. Specifically what I'm doing with this piece of art. Push your skills. Just push it as hard as you can. Like for this one specifically, even if it turns out looking like absolute hot garbage, which by the way, all of you that listen will get to experience the whole journey as well. Even if this ends up looking like complete doggy doo-doo, I still push myself to continue to become better as something I just enjoy doing. Not everything has to be the best that we got. We just have to be okay with what we are able to produce. But we should go into it with the mindset to do as best as we can and be unafraid that we will mess up. Nothing's perfect. But it helps with us understanding where our limitations are. What is specifically just because of the way my mind works, right? So, specifically the way my mind works, how do I develop a style that is in tune with how my nature is as a person? Because that's how it's creating art, or me sketching onto this piece of paper is nothing more than me conducting a piece, or it is a reflection of some part of me. So it's either an idea, it's either an experience. Like there's meaning behind me thinking up this idea. Almost the equivalence of a dream. I don't know where this idea came from. It came from a few different, thought this was cool, thought that was cool, just went ahead and did it. But the overall idea of it has no inherent meaning, but there might be. Should always wonder what exactly, why do I do these things that I do? Always question what you're doing. We should always be living inside our own heads, if you know what I mean. You could actually, it's funny, just because I was going hard on making some rocks, I had to sharpen a pencil to go back to making the grass. But yeah, the only thing that I use is tissues and so far, I need to get my hands on some new good pieces of fun charcoal stuff. Like, one of these days I'll do an episode with charcoal stuff, but that gets messy. It gets so messy. I'm trying to clean that up. My God, because it makes some really awesome stuff. The only issue is it gets on your hands, because your hands are on top of the piece of work that you're working on. It gets on the environment around you, so it gets on the desk. It gets onto anything you touch because you have it on your hands. Charcoal is I love it because as you work with it, so with a pencil, with graphite, as soon as you put it on, you can erase it and you can build it up. But you can to a point, but play with it quite like you can with charcoal. Charcoal almost feels like you're almost molding with clay, but it's on a 2D surface. It's fun. Oh, you want to lighten it up? Well, pull more graphite away from it or erase it. You want to show a specific contour? All right, use that and push it to contour into the graphite. It's really, really fun. What I was going for some of the things was to try to, you'll notice that there's random squiggly lines that are just laying on the ground. Trying to go for more sticks, trying to go for a look that the area isn't really tended to, but it's has someone that's playing around there. Like lived, like it's home. Though I do want to put more fish in that lake. I think those other fish need some friends. So I don't really have much like that. I'm trying to think of what else I can talk about. The only thing I can think of is that, thank God, work's starting to pick up a little bit, just to bring in some ready to receive income, just because of the nature of my job. Though it's funny how the volatility of my job is this. You can go 3 months with only 3 people calling you, and then all of a sudden you can go 1 week where everyone on your client list calls you all at the same time. And almost to that point as well, is almost on the same day as well, which is wild. Either it's Monday or it's Saturday or Sunday. Just because I guess maybe a lot of the people I work with, they own their own businesses as well. I do stuff for actual restaurants and stuff like that. But yeah, so the only things that left to talk about is, I guess, go back to the channel, talk about the channel. So the first season, probably like a little bit of a one of the things I wanted to talk about is a few of my thoughts of what is it? Was it trying to go back to? Sorry, just smacking the microphone around. Trying to convey, I guess, an idea of this specific function that we need. A function that we need to be able to command how our lives are. And that's, we colloquially use a term control in order to describe the ability to enact our will upon the world around us. It probably is one, in the sense that how we understand control today is probably the best way to describe it. Though I guess the only issue is if you have control without focus and a purpose, that control only becomes a hunger to continue to fill control. And a lot of people, one of the things that I especially learned over the course of my life so far is, and this is very true, this is literally just who I am, you can't force people to do things. At all. As much as people try to do it again and again and again, you can get away with it for so long. You can get away with control over other people for only a short amount of time, because once they stop desiring for you to control them, they will actively work against you then, which then stops all your goals from being achieved. Right? And I'm talking whether these are good goals or bad goals. This is just the nature of how things work. So, in order to get things done that are goals that you have, the way to go about it is you just have to embody the goal that you're trying to achieve, meaning you have to put the labor in to do it, or at least to start it. There's another nature that I'll talk about that's really fun that I've noticed. But coming back to this, the only way you can get people to conduct their will along with your will is to give them a reason for them to do so in the first place. Now, a lot of the times you can fake this by building up a persona, building up a acting, creating the illusion that you are a person worth following. Now, this has happened multiple times. Stuff like any sort of amount of charisma, you can pretty much convince mostly anyone to do almost anything. It's pretty wild. But eventually, if you don't have the correct understandings, or if you're only trying to achieve small goals in a short amount of time, that method is okay. The only issue is eventually, if you keep doing that, you keep doing the short method, that only builds up over time. And one of the things that's interesting about that is if you stack those shortcuts, let's just call them shortcuts. If you stack those shortcuts up and you just keep stacking those shortcuts up without allowing nature to re-exert itself, so for those shortcuts to come back so that nature corrects itself, if you keep doing that and you keep shorting out nature coming back and reclaiming the territory, it will do it forcefully. It automatically, it's the balance. It's a balance situation that ends up happening because of your goals, and you're shorting the process in order to obtain your goals without any sort of personal development to obtain these sort of goals. It would just backfire in the end eventually. So one of the things, basically it's like trying to describe a possible scenario that could eventually happen, which you could observe from a multitude of different scenarios. You can put X scenario into this sort of situation, watch it unfold, and eventually let's use the idea of sort of like a Hunger Games. Yeah, let's think of the Hunger Games, for instance. Authoritarian regime up to a certain point, until the people are clever enough to overthrow that. As nature re-exerting itself. They were able, let's call it the establishment of this world that is the Hunger Games, was able to forcibly control the people. Now, in order to achieve these sort of goals, it happens quickly within like a generation. The only thing is that the process has to be started and is a slow creep. The only way to successfully do it is if you take small shortcuts, little by little. Now, trying to attain like this, some sort of like grand goal is impossible if everyone knows what exactly the plan is. You can't deconstruct a spaceship by sending it to one team and having them work on it. You just deconstruct it, you send the little parts off to other people, they analyze it, figure out the means of production, send that part back, and now are able to produce the same product. Essentially, capability of mass producing this spaceship or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, I had to... So, the only issue is eventually the system in which you created will fail itself, because it's diametrically opposed to how nature operates itself. Nature, as we understand it, and I'm using a word, I do apologize. I'm using nature in two different aspects. What I was initially referring to as the nature and nurture. The nature is the sort of pre-established framework of how things operate. So that would be my definition of nature. Then you have the other definition, nature being environmental nature. So actual Mother Earth, mudslides, rain, tornadoes, nature. Mother Nature. We see the system of nature re-exerting itself with Mother Nature. Mother Nature, if let's say we take humans, remove the humans from this planet, send them off to another planet, and then bring them back, nature will re-exert itself. All the buildings will start collapsing. Anything that we build will eventually die. So all these buildings will eventually collapse. The grass and the dandelions will start pushing right through the concrete. The bacteria will show up out of practically nowhere, eating all the oil out of the ocean that we dumped into it. The temperature of the planet will fluctuate according to how it knows to be, basically. But once we come back, we'll notice that everything starts going back to the way it was. We should be trying to... One of the things that I find for myself is that there's things on this planet that I wish I can help change. And every time I try tackling the idea of where do I put pressure, where do I put my energy into? That was one of the biggest issues. I was coming to this mental block I couldn't figure out and how to get past. This idea of I want to be able to help wherever I can because I know I can. But where do I put that? That's energy. That's my willpower. Where do I put that willpower? The only thing that I kept coming to was anything that I would talk about, it would be hypocritical at one point or another. I was trying to develop a framework of understanding this world to be as true as I can understand this world. Especially, not just this world, this planet, to understand us, the community, what a community is. Because I couldn't come up with a single answer that I would able to put as my purpose. And the more I started shaving away the areas that I thought I could put influence into. So let's say I like video games. Okay. How do I put in, well, start live streaming video games. That's how you gain influence in video games. Try to develop some sort of base, and then just start becoming influential within a specific market. Well, the issue then I started coming to was the oversaturation of specific markets. So trying to be a video game player person that does whatever live streaming. Okay, what game do you decide? Because I'm aware that when it comes, like, let's say League of Legends, for those that are not super nerdy, I am super nerdy. So I'm going to be very blatant with how I talk about things. So I do apologize. But let's say League of Legends. League of Legends being the MOBA that I particularly enjoy. Just because I spend way too much time on it. Not just it's kind of like a vehicle you bought and you put a lot of time and effort into, and you don't want to get rid of it because you like the car. It's pretty much the same thing. So, one of the issues I was coming to is, okay, let's say, let's, for on thought experiment, because I like this. So let's say I start a League of Legends channel to gain influence somewhere that I can help and change and do what I can for the people, for humans, basically, just us humans. When I look at another person, I see another, like, it's just another human. How do I help? How do I do what I can to help people? The issue is that it's like, let's say with video games, it's like, how do I convey, again, coming back to it, how do I help people if everything I come to is a hypocritical standpoint? How do I tell someone you should lose weight when I'm fat, right? That's like, people, especially in my generation, they don't like Christians because of the sheer hypocrisy that some people, the Christians wouldn't lead by example. And the ones that did lead by example gained some sort of holier than thou attitude, and which is a fair assessment. The only issue is then it got overboard and we went full on atheist, completely disregarding any sort of notion of a religious pretext to our raising of ourselves, like to us completely is, well, we're United States. Christianity is at basically the heart and soul of our country. And I'm not saying that it's like you have to worship Christ or whatever. Just saying that that's the nature of what our United States. That's the founding fathers. That was the belief that they had. Plus, not to mention a lot of the Masons. They were Masons. They had a lot of good information, like especially how to frame one's person and frame to be one with nature, to be nature of the world, and eventually, getting off topic. Coming back to the idea. So I had to figure out a means to influence the world around me naturally. Right as rain with nature. How nature is intended to function. Nature of human beings, the nature of community, the nature of us with you, the nature of myself to everyone else around me, the nature of myself to what I would refer to as God, the entity that makes up all existence. And so I started slowly learning that the only way to change the world around you is that you have to exhibit that change. And it's funny because you hear it from just Jordan Peterson, you hear it from, I think, Jocko Willington, Steven Crowder, you get it from, especially you look at Tim Pool, I personally enjoy watching. Let's see. I'm trying to think of, I'm trying to think of what another good sort of like good. I also enjoyed listening to Jesse Lee Peterson, just because he was an interesting fellow, very interesting fellow. In any case, we should learn how to be able to control ourselves before we start dictating how other people should kind of live, right? Like, it seems it'd be hypocritical of me to say anything without first applying it to myself. Simple, straightforward. So one of the biggest things is don't judge others, because I know others will probably judge me, but why should I judge others then? I can look at a person and deduce from what they look like physically on a lot of different things. I can also then talk with them to be able to deduce even further. I can put together an idea of that person, and then just as I talk to someone, that profile of them will change accordingly. Now, it's not to say that it's not to deperson a person either. The reason I personally do that is because I believe that there's nature to specific people. I don't believe that everyone is born the same, even though we are the same. It's sort of like the idea of fate or destiny. Not that I think that there is a path laid before us before we're even born. And of course, one of the things that goes against. No, I do apologize. I'm trying to think of these thoughts off the top of my head. So in order for there to be sort of any sort of fate or a system of fate, there would have to be us willingly participating in this system. Now, as far as what a lot of Christians would believe, and this comes with control, us exerting our will. We can't lay claim to the spirit that inhabits our physical body. All we understand is, well, for right now, the only thing we understand is the consciousness of looking at our hand and just being able to move it. That's as far as experiencing the world around us. We have that. We have community. We have community with on multiple different levels, and we have the capability of thinking about means that are greater than what we can perceive already. So that's, let's say, dreaming. Let's say that is even daydreaming. Let's say sketching from your imagination, just like what I'm doing right now. But I have no idea where I'm going with this. I completely lost train of thought. But going back to it, we'd have to be able to choose whether we want to be in these bodies or not. There's the lonely heart sickness where someone dies. like days after someone that, like, especially you find this in couples. And of course, it's never like specific, but it's like like people commit suicide, so you get to choose when you die, I guess. And I'm not trying to make light. I have a personal history with people that have committed suicide, so believe me, I don't talk about things lightly. But we should be able to, trying to harper back to this idea of we should try to gain mastery of control over ourselves. No matter how, even to a point of make your bed in the morning. Like, your bed, that is where you sleep. This is fundamentally where you start the day and you end the day. Especially if you're in a bed that is consistent, as mine is. So, I walk into that other room, I lay down on my bed, and I fall asleep till I wake up. When you leave that state, it should be done as a reminder to you every morning that you should constantly try to be better. Whether that's even as something as simple as making your bed or just looking at someone that annoyed you and not just flipping them off. Not just saying the worst thing you can think of off the top of your head. That's trying to obtain a level of control over yourself. You can do it. And I'm not trying to say that people shouldn't do it. All I'm saying is you have a choice and a lot of people, like I know for myself, I've acted and conducted myself, even bringing men to the point of tears, just because of the words I say to someone. We should always know that there is another side to the coin. So let's say someone cuts you off as you're driving. You can very easily fall into your rage, your anger, or even as far as worse, to be hateful or spiteful towards that person. And let's say speed up and cut them off. I've both done and have experienced and been the receiving end of that sort of scenario. Or you can merely accept that that is something that happened. You can sit there, see it, have it happen. Okay. And not allow yourself to be seduced by or to succumb to the temptation of being frustrated. Now, of course, this is something that's very hard because even for myself, like, this is actually something that's very, very hard, is to, for one, recognize the situation. 2, recognize the possible outcomes of the situation depending on what your influence of the situation is. And then 3, what is your choice? Do you choose to allow it to roll off of you like becoming one with the river that flows? Or do you choose to become a rock and become hardened, become more... You go on sort of the offensive, you become attackful, you attack them. Or you try to get them to acknowledge that you are angry by honking and flipping them off just merely to get them riled up. Now, of course, I've done all of those things. To be truthful, my especially my road rage. My road rage was legendary. Almost every time I got in a car, I was flipping someone off. It was, let's just say it expends a lot of energy. Us exerting our will like that is sense energy. We get our micro micro signals, or the neurochemicals that fire and get your adrenaline pumping. You get your ideas get all flustered, and it becomes a whirlwind of how the best way to break this person, or the best way. Like, you start thinking along the lines of how do I hurt this person quite like they hurt me. Whether even if it's small or big, you seek some sort of valid revenge against a person that offended you. It's to people that don't know any other better states of being, such as, let's say, because that would be, at least that's how my brain worked. Only when I was driving. It was really got that bad when I was driving. I never liked doing it to people, cause like that I could see face to face, just because it felt like it had more of a ramification if I was just that cruel to a person. But when driving, the act of being in the vehicle sort of removes you from the sense of being around other people. You may see someone else driving, but to you that is just another vehicle. Sort of like removing the humanity behind the inanimate object, the person, removing the idea that it's a human that's driving that vehicle. But, or you could go with a more easier, you can spend your energy, like for me, I can spend my energy like that. I can do that. It is a choice that is before me to act in that specific behavior, to exist as that type of person. Or I can choose not to. Very simply, just let it go. Not to put energy at all, even to the point of thinking about it towards it. That was something that just happened. Okay. And this is something I've been talking about through the episodes, and hopefully some people enjoy going back to it and checking out my videos. But that was the thing that I was trying to talk about the most, is choosing where we put our energy, where we exert our will. Where do we... Because it's as simple as this. Becoming aware of how much control we actually have with the environment. We as a species have the ability to build the most beautiful things I have ever seen in my lifetime. But so does Mother Nature. The nature of life. Untainted. But at the same time, we have to know what the ramifications, we have to theorize what the ramifications of our choices truly become. That's the next step after learning that there is multiple choices. You can conduct yourself in multiple different ways. And that's the one of the first steps to breaking, or at least what the monks would say, is breaking the idea of the ego. Though I don't much care for the means in which they go about explaining ego. The ego is nothing more than us. This physical body. I can look at my hand. I can make a fist. I can turn it around and I can expand my fingers. And I can do this constantly looking at my hand. That is only the physical representation. Or I can look at a mirror. That is the physical representation of the ego. The lived experience up until the ever-present. The ever-present being your conscious awareness of now. The now. So the time that you would be listening to this video, or the time that I am sitting here making the video. The ever-present. So, hopefully that's just some advice that I personally have kind of started coming to in my life. Now, as I continue to talk about these things, I will be better at speaking about it. I will be able to engage people a lot better. I like knowing more and more things, not just about myself, but about the world around me. And about the people that I care about. And people nowadays don't believe that a single person can really care about more than their general proximity of people that are around them. And I think that we're getting close to the revival of like true spiritualism. Sort of like what happened in the 70s, but better, just more focused. And eventually that's what my second season will start talking about, is focus. And then I had to come up with some sort of nice bridge between this season and next season. This is going to be fun. I want to enjoy this. So we're coming to the end of this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me, when do you watch these sort of videos? How do you enjoy the format? Just a general whatevers. Alright. Well, everyone, we're coming to the literal end of this video. So, have a good one, and Godspeed.